On Capitol Hill, where in just hours, Attorney General Jeff Sessions will take the hot seat.
And he will dispute what James Comey said last week.
I sense that he just cannot wait to knock out of the park.
Glad Jeff's testifying today. He will acquit himself very well. He'll answer the questions. But it's time to move on to the things that people care about.
The real collusion going on appears to be between the Clinton campaign, the Obama administration, Loretta Lynch, and James Comey.
If Attorney General Lynch made law enforcement decisions for political purposes, that's called misconduct in office, and Jeff Sessions should investigate her.
This is our first cabinet meeting with the entire cabinet.
We talk about how we're going to get the American people working again and bring confidence back to people.
Our commander-in-chief and his special advisor, Ivanka Trump, are heading to Wisconsin today, focusing on the administration's job program.
College is not for everyone. He's going to say that.
I really got to hand it to the president. I asked him to make this a priority. That's exactly what they're doing this week.
Look at the zipper. Look at all the guests that still have to get in here. Can we get them all in just an hour?
Hope so. Laura Ingraham is joining us right now as we bring you the television show live from the mezzanine level, and she's down in our nation's capital. Laura, good morning to you.
Good morning. Hey, guys.
Okay, so the President of the United States and Ivanka are going to go out to Wisconsin later today. They're talking jobs and, you know, apprentice programs and the skills gap in the United States. But at the same time, Jeff Sessions is going to be sitting down on Capitol Hill talking about Comey and Mueller and all that stuff.
What I think is interesting is they're going to Wisconsin and they're talking about the economy.
Right.
How do we get people to transition into the workforce that's changing in the United States? Those are things that actually a lot of liberals have been asking for. Apprenticeships and developing new talents, whether it's tech or STEM for young women, workplace accommodations. I mean, that's not really the conservative palette right off the bat. However, those things are kind of popular among a wide swath of the public. But here's the rub. Today, Jeff Sessions decides, he's going to testify. Congress schedules it, and that's all people are going to be watching. Yeah. So again, the administration kind of steps on its own narrative by, continuing this conversation about the Russia probe that now seems to be a probe into something else. But Jeff Sessions clearly believes he needs to right the record, and knowing him as long as I've known him, he has something significant to say today, and I think it's going to be something everyone's going to be watching. And again, he's got to be careful when he testifies, but he's not a dummy. He's a smart guy, and I think it's going to be well worth the watch.
You know what I think is so great? The president did not fuel the fire yesterday. He kept it on his message. He kept it on his cabinet. So therefore, the other networks that are living off his tweets and try to get storylines from them have to go work and make things up and go off base, and it's really becoming clearer and clearer that there's no there when it comes to collusion. And if he stays on this message, he's going to make it very difficult for a lot of the enemies in the media.
I think it's great for the president to use tweets to talk about the positive aspects of his agenda. I think we need more positive things from the administration.
Right.
I want to see,
like today.
Yeah, I mean, this is all good stuff. Again, it's going to get stepped on quite a bit, I think, from Sessions, but that's okay. I mean, things aren't going to turn around overnight. This is going to take some time for the administration to start, I think, righting the ship into the direction of economic renewal, growth, and really putting the spotlight back on the never-Trumpers, both in the Republican Party, many of them who do not want him to be successful, and, of course, on the far left, who want to resist anything he does and ultimately want to remove him from office. So the more he is the champion of the forgotten man, the theme he struck so brilliantly during the campaign, the more he looks like the beacon, and they look like the storm. You want the beacon to be shining really brightly in the middle of a storm. He needs to be the beacon. We don't want him to be the storm.
Isn't that what President Clinton did?
Yeah, well, President Clinton said, I'm going to get back to the work of the American people. And I know that the president doesn't want to appear like he has anything to hide. Bill Clinton did have something to hide. So I know the president's probably thinking, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Bill Clinton was trying to hide something. So he always wants to defend the defenseless and when it comes to the workforce. And I think in this case, he truly believes that this is hurting the country. That's what he believes. So if he believes that, his instinct is to smash back. But in this case, let me just say, as a lawyer who used to practice in this area of the law of federal investigations and big white-collar criminal investigations, less said, the better said. Less said, better said. Let the investigation go forward. I would stop talking about it, let the lawyers do their job, and let this proceed, I would hope, expeditiously for the sake of the country. That's what he should be doing. If I were advising him, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, well, Laura, let's talk about the Loretta Lynch bombshell that was released this morning. Circa News is doing a story. First of all, we knew, James Comey said last week, that he met with Loretta Lynch, and the first meeting, she said, let's don't call the Hillary Clinton emails an investigation. Let's call it a matter. Well, then today, Circa News is reporting that then he met with her again, and he said, hey, that meeting you had with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, that is a conflict of interest. And then he hands her a document, and it's a highly sensitive document, and it was showing communication between two political figures. And apparently, he hands it to her and he says, I have information that you said you agreed to put the kibosh on Hillary Clinton's investigation. She reads this. She looks at the document according to this report. She looks up with a steely silence, and it lasted for some time, Comey says. Asked if he had other business with her, and then she asked, do you have more business with me? And if not, you need to leave my office.
Oh, boy.
Think about this. Think about how the left, when it came to the Trump meeting with Comey, has no problem inferring an attempt to impede an investigation when he said, I hope you can see an end to this. You know, he's a good guy. Comey responds, he's a good guy. Talking about the firing. So think about that. Media infers intent to obstruct an investigation. What about this meeting? If Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General of the United States, looks at a subordinate, after he shows her a document, I'm dying to know what that document said, or how they intercepted the document. It sounds like it's an email communication. And shows it to her, and she stares at him. Could we infer an implicit threat against Comey? Right. If he acts on this? Could we infer that she's trying to impede an ongoing federal investigation? Right. If they're inferring it about Trump, why not infer it about Loretta Lynch?
And you know what?
I think we know the answer to that.
Sure. And you know what? Everybody in your town is talking about collusion with the Russians, and there's no evidence so far that that happened between the Russians and the Trump campaign, from what we know. But this is clear evidence that he's showing her this document where there appears to be collusion between her and the Hillary Clinton campaign to win her the campaign.
But I'm not letting Comey off. But I'm not letting Comey off
don't
on this.
bother.
Yeah, like altruistic intentions of Jim Comey here. I'm gonna sweep those aside for a moment, because if he had that document, didn't he think that he had an obligation to go to the president? I mean, did he not think he had an obligation to
Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
Well, maybe he did. Well, we have to have that we have to have that examined. So the next question, of course, goes to Comey's friend, Bob Mueller, who's the special counsel here. Are we going to see Bob Mueller take this seriously? Because now this is being used, apparently, according to the reports, this meeting with Loretta Lynch as his reason for doing that July 5th non-indictment, but damning non-indictment of Hillary Clinton's behavior with the email server. Everyone said, why did you do that press conference? That was out of the norm. He apparently, according to the reports about this closed-door session last week, he said, because of Loretta Lynch's reaction to this memo I showed her, this email, we don't know what it was, but it was a conversation, as you said, between two well-placed politicos that seemed to indicate that she shut down that investigation. Where was Comey? Why didn't Comey take this to the president? And if he did, what did President Obama do about that? Now, we don't know. This is what Bob Mueller would have to investigate. Sure. But I bet the president, if that was done, he's gonna try to claim some executive privilege after the fact.
A couple of things. On May 17th, Trey Gowdy had something very telling. In an interview with Martha McCallum, I wish everyone would go back and look at the story, because he can't give away closed-door meetings, but he did indicate a lot more detail on this without giving up the top secret level that he has. Also, it's very interesting that nothing leaks out of that meeting. We get leaks constantly from closed doors. We don't get this. I want to transition to Bob Mueller. And we know the story yesterday. Chris Ruddy, who runs Newsmax and is tight with the president, came out with a story that the president's considering firing Robert Mueller. Well, the word is now we have John Roberts reporting this morning that Chris Ruddy got that information from watching Jay Sekulow do a Sunday interview. And Jay Sekulow never said that he was going to be fired. So the White House pushed back on it and said, listen, the president, it's wrong. The president never said that. The president speaks for himself or through Sean Spicer, so dismiss it. Now, the front page of the New York Times, what happens if he does that? Everyone weighing in, this will be worst thing possible. Adam Schiff, I dare you to do it. So now they're running with that storyline. However, Robert Mueller did say, is setting up like the best legal minds in the country to examine this. And some would wonder if he's going to do this. There's remnants of his background. If in the back of his mind, he's going to look to get revenge for James Comey on some level. That's the fear among people that want to see the truth come out.
Yeah, on the first matter, this is fake news. This is an example of the establishment media being agenda-driven to drive the president out of office, and being lazy. Oh, and being stupid. So that's a evil triple of a threat against objectivity in the media. Stupidity, and they're agenda-driven, and these people are completely lazy. So that's 3 against the media. Chris Ruddy, I adore him. He's a friend of mine. I think he's probably going to clarify this later today, but it doesn't matter. Even if Chris Ruddy, even if he misstated this, it sounds like he did. He got it from the Sekulow conversation on the Sunday show. Sekulow is not a lawyer of the president, by the way, as the LA Times is reporting this morning. So I imagine he'll correct that. But even if he said that, isn't it incumbent upon the American media to kind of chase it down and to verify whether that's true? No, they didn't do that because they want to drive the president out of office. Let's everyone who's watching this right now understand that. There is a concerted effort on the part of some never-Trumpers in the Republican caucus on Capitol Hill, and we know who they are, the media and the left, to drive the president out of office. It's incumbent upon objective people in the media and smart analysts and in the White House itself to keep their eye on the prize. The American people are smart. They see unfairness when it exists. This is patently unfair and untrue. This is fake news, and shame on all the other cable networks, New York Times, Washington Post for going with us. This is fake and false, and it's defamatory, and it's outrageous.
Agenda, stupid, lazy.
Thank you, Laura Ingram. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
It's
always breaking news when we have you on. We appreciate it.
I know. Thanks.
All right, 12 minutes now after the hour.
All right, coming up on the rundown for this Tuesday, President Trump heads to Wisconsin later today, as we were just chatting with Laura about, with this message for America. College is not your only option, young people. We're live with the president's new job plan coming up.
And now you see it, now you don't. A major update of the advisor of this school yearbook that edited out all the signs of President Trump. Okay, they were pro-Trump.
All right, President Trump once again keeping a key campaign promise, trying to put America back to work.
Our commander-in-chief and his special advisor Ivanka Trump heading to Wisconsin, focusing on jobs.
Meanwhile, Griff Jenkins is live in Washington, D.C. at his perch overlooking the Capitol with details. Griff?
Hey, Stephen Ainsley, that's right. The president and his daughter and special advisor Ivanka heading to Wisconsin to tour a technical college with Governor Scott Walker, promoting technical skills training and apprenticeships as part of what they are calling Workforce Development Week. Ivanka was on this program yesterday talking about that, noting that there's a viable path for Americans other than a 4-year college experience, stressing the importance of skills-based training and education.
There are 6 million available American jobs. So we're constantly hearing from CEOs that they have job openings, but they don't have workers with the skill set they need to fill those jobs.
Right.
So really bridging that gap and bringing experience-based education to the forefront.
And Governor Walker, who was just on this program in the last hour, says those are the skills that are much needed right now in Wisconsin.
We've got jobs, and we just need to have people with the skills and the qualifications and the education they need to fill them. This morning, just looking at our state website, jobcenterwisconsin.com, we've got 96,901 jobs just listed on that one website alone. And so I think Ivanka was right yesterday when she said, all across America, we certainly here in Wisconsin, we've got jobs. We just need to connect people to the skills.
And we may hear from the president later this afternoon. He's expected to make remarks in the early, say, 4 o'clock area. Guys?
We'll be watching. All right, Griff, thank you.
Thank you, Griff. Great to see you. Well, he is one of the key architects of Obamacare, so how can we fix it? Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel lays out 3 simple steps. Live next.
And move over, Mr. President. It turns out Barron Trump, your son, could actually be a better salesman than his father when it comes to one item. What is it?
We're going to go around the country and say, all right, what are people doing that's really high quality care and low cost? Right here in New York, you know, up in Westchester County, WestMed doing some really brilliant things. And we went from New York all the way to Hawaii, and you can see different pockets, people doing great health care.
Right, and this book is extremely well researched, and it's up for debate at an extremely high level. One thing is get rid of fee-for-service.
Yes.
Right? So if I break my ankle or I need brain surgery, it's costing me the same.
The problem is doctors and hospitals now get paid to treat you when you're sick. Doctors don't get paid to keep you healthy. We have to change how we pay them so that they're thinking differently.
So I'm paying them every month. I'm paying them every month whether I need them or not. That's back to the insurance.
The insurance companies need to pay what's either a bundle payment, that is, you break your hip, we're going to give you one price, $22,000 wherever it is, and hospitals, doctors have to be efficient. Or we're also going to give you what's called capitation, a set price to cover everything. And then I think, all right, how can I keep you healthy? Rather than wait for you to get sick or wait for you to come to me, I'm going to begin reaching out to you and get you to eat better, to make sure you get your immunizations, make sure you're actually taking your medicines. That change in psychology will only come if we incentivize doctors.
We had the HUD Secretary, Dr. Ben Carson, also a doctor, a neurosurgeon, on,
saw him leave.
as you know. Okay, so he was on our show, and we asked him, are we close to this? Will we see this in the next year or so getting passed in Congress? And this is what he said, and we'll get your reaction.
I'm very hopeful that they're going to get it done and recognize that the system that we have in place right now, maybe people meant well. You know, I don't like to sit around and denigrate people, but the fact of the matter is we have millions of people who are losing care, who essentially don't have care because their premiums are so high, the deductibles are so high, it's like not even having insurance. So we've got to get back, take it out of the political realm. We have the ability to fix this.
You're shaking your head. Yes, you agree with him?
Look, the deductibilities is a big problem. I agree. That's the affordability problem. If I've got a $5,000 deductible plan, it really covers me only with a disaster like cancer or a car accident or a bad heart attack. We have to get to more affordability. But as I said, the Republican plan now being debated in the Senate doesn't have anything about affordability. What I tried to do in the book was to look at places that are actually delivering great care for a lower price. And there are a lot of them out there. And we need to get them across the country.
Well, maybe they'll buy the book and take a look, get an idea.
That's what I'm hoping.
All right, the book is called Prescription for the Future. Doctor, thank you very much for making it.
And it's extremely readable and understandable. You don't have to be a physician to get it.
Thank you.
So it's definitely worthy of debate. Great to see you.
Great.
Thanks, Dr.
Nice to be here again.
Same here.
Great to have you. All right, they don't call him Mad Dog for nothing. Defense Secretary James Mattis just took a major swing at the D.C. swamp.
And now you see it, now you don't. A major update on the high school controversy yearbook thing. The Photoshopper has been unmasked. Turned up to 11, dropping on dead on the dance floor. Somebody better call a doctor. She's a little hard stopper.
We should have used that music for Emanuel a second ago.
Or for Dr. Ben Carson.
That's right. We've got a lot of doctors today. All right.
This next story is out of New Jersey. Where is this town in New Jersey?
Down the shore, and somebody was doctoring with the yearbook.
Yep.
A couple of students down in Wall, New Jersey, took pictures. They had Trump, President Trump's name, on a sweater, as you can see right there, on a T-shirt, Trump Make America Great Again, on a sweater vest right there. And somebody at the yearbook staff airbrushed it out, photoshopped it out. Also, that young man, Wyatt, who was on the program yesterday, his sister was a freshman class president. She chose an inspirational quote from Donald Trump that was conveniently left out.
Yesterday, you interviewed him. This is what he had to say.
I think that it would only be fair to make sure that all the yearbooks are reissued with our photos fully intact the way they should be, and with my sister's quote into the yearbook. And I think also that the people or person who did this should be held responsible because it is a violation of mine and other people's First Amendment rights, and that's wrong.
So essentially you want to find out who the Photoshopper is. You want to unmask them.
We want to unmask the Photoshopper.
She's unmasked, and she's suspended, but evidently she's suspended with pay. and that is the advisor to the yearbook.
You said something funny in the last hour. Oh, great. They're still going to pay her. She doesn't have to come to work. She can go to the beach.
Yeah, already has that taxing position of yearbook advisor. I'm not sure they actually pay. In my school, they didn't even pay her for it. They just asked you to almost volunteer for it. But now she gets paid and goes, hangs out in June, towards the end of school.
It's because they're still under investigation. They got to figure it out, I guess. Although it seems pretty easy. Did you do it or did you not?
It's Susan Parsons, a technical media teacher who's been teaching for 21 years, and she declined to comment. So did the school.
And we don't know that she's the actual person who photoshopped it out, but we do know she is responsible for the yearbook, and so pending this investigation. And Wyatt and his mother were actually meeting with the school yesterday to talk about what was going to be done. Right after that, then this woman gets suspended with pay, as Brian said. And as we heard from that soundbite, what he would like is he would like to have all of the yearbooks reprinted as they were supposed to.
That's probably not going to happen because they're about $80 a piece, or at least they were when we were growing up. All right, the superintendent did make a comment. She says there is nothing in our student dress code that would prevent a student from expressing his or her political views and support for a candidate for a political office via appropriate clothing. She goes on to say, rather, I applaud students for becoming involved in politics and for participation in our democratic society. So, glad to hear her say that.
She's going to make the yearbooks great again.
All right. Hey, Jillian.
Hey, good morning.
What's going on?
A lot of details to that story.
Can you believe
a lot of
the big one? How about the big one that was totally wiped off the guy?
I know, but we will keep you updated on that story, that's for sure. The media firing sad attempts to downplay President Trump's first cabinet meeting, CNN calling it Soviet-like. Take a look.
This was beyond a photo op.
It was a bit cringeworthy, to say the least. It reminds me of the opposite reason as to why my parents brought me to this country from the former Soviet Union.
So that looked like a Soviet-style meeting.
HUD Secretary Ben Carson joined us earlier. He said the meeting was the complete opposite.
It was wonderful. You know, we talked about how we're going to get the American people working again and bring confidence back to people. And the nice thing about this particular cabinet, we have a lot of people here who know how to do things.
The cabinet talked about the fight against ISIS, health care reform, and the budget. Defense Secretary James Mattis is slamming the swamp, blaming Congress for the decline in U.S. military readiness. Mattis scolding lawmakers during a hearing for failing to pass military budgets and imposing automatic spending cuts.
While nothing can compare to the heartache caused by the loss of our troops during these wars, no enemy in the field has done more to harm the combat readiness of our military than sequestration.
Mattis is asking Congress to pass the president's 2018 spending request of $639 billion on time to allow the military to appropriately plan. All right, move over, Melania Trump. It looks like Barron is now the fashion icon in the family. The first son's T-shirt with the words